I came home from my work trip and found my sister living in my apartment like she owned the place. Turns out my parents secretly copied my key, moved her in, and told her to stay as long as she wanted. I need to get this off my chest before I do something I'll regret. I'm a 29-year-old commercial airline pilot, and I just returned from a 2-week rotation flying routes through Asia to find my entire life turned upside down. Let me give you some background first. I worked my ass off to become a pilot. While other kids were partying in college, I was studying aerodynamics and meteorology. I accumulated massive student loans getting my commercial pilot's license. Spent years as a flight instructor making barely enough to survive, then worked for regional airlines for peanuts, before finally landing my dream job with a major international carrier 18 months ago. I'm now a first officer on long-haul international routes, and I finally make enough to afford a decent one-bedroom apartment in the city center close to the airport. My sister Emma, 27, is a graphic designer. She's talented, I'll give her that, but she's always been the golden child who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. While I was working 16-hour days and living on ramen to pay for flight hours, she was living at home rent-free after art school, building her portfolio. Our parents, Dad 55 and Mom 53, have always had this weird dynamic where they expect me to be the responsible one while simultaneously treating me like I don't deserve the success I've earned. 2 weeks ago, I left for a complex routing through Asia. Los Angeles to Tokyo, Tokyo to Singapore, Singapore to Hong Kong, then the reverse. It's exhausting, but pays well with the international per diem. Before I left, everything was normal. I just deep cleaned my apartment, paid all my bills in advance, and made sure everything was secure. I have a good relationship with my neighbors, and one of them, Mrs. Chen, even waters my plants when I'm gone. I returned yesterday morning at 6 a.m., exhausted after dealing with weather delays and a medical emergency on the Hong Kong flight that required an unscheduled landing. All I wanted was to shower in my own bathroom and sleep in my own bed. But when I opened my apartment door, I thought I was in the wrong unit. My living room looked like an art supply store had exploded in it. Canvases were stacked against every wall. Paint tubes, brushes, and palettes covered my coffee table. My couch, my $3,000 leather couch that I'd saved for months to buy, was pushed against the wall and covered in what looked like dried acrylic paint splatters. The smell of turpentine and oil paint hit me like a wall. I stood there in shock, still in my pilot uniform, trying to process what I was seeing. Then I heard movement from my bedroom. My bedroom. I honestly thought I was being robbed. So I grabbed my phone to call 911 when Emma walked out wearing my bathrobe. My bathrobe. Holding a cup of coffee in one of my mugs. She had the audacity to smile and say, "Oh, you're back early. Mom said you weren't supposed to be home until tomorrow." I couldn't even form words. She just stood there sipping coffee like this was completely normal while I looked around at the destruction of my personal space. When I finally found my voice, I asked her what the hell she was doing in my apartment. Her response, "Mom and Dad said I could stay here while you were gone. They said pilots are away too much to really need their own apartments anyway, and I needed a space to work on my commission pieces. Your light is perfect for painting." My light in my apartment that I pay $2,400 a month for. I demanded to know how she got in, and she casually mentioned that our parents had made copies of my keys. Copies of my keys without my permission, without even telling me. They'd apparently had them made months ago for emergencies and decided that Emma needing studio space constituted an emergency. I told her to get out immediately. She actually laughed and said I was being dramatic. She said she'd clean up in a few days after she finished her current project and that I should be happy to support family. Support family. While I'm working 80-hour weeks flying hundreds of people safely across the Pacific, she's destroying my apartment and calling it family support. I pulled out my phone and started recording everything. The paint damage, the unauthorized entry, her admission that she'd been staying there without permission. She got upset and called our parents, putting them on speaker. Their response was even worse than hers. My father's exact words were, "You're barely home anyway, son. What's the big deal? Your sister needed space to work, and that apartment is too big for someone who's gone 20 days a month." My mother added, "Family helps family. You should be ashamed of yourself for being so selfish." Emma's art is important too. As if my career, my home, my privacy, my legal rights as a tenant mean nothing. As if the years I spent building my career were just a convenient way to provide free housing for my sister's hobby. I hung up on them and gave Emma 30 minutes to pack her things and leave. She threw a tantrum saying I was ruining her career, that she had deadlines, that I was being a terrible brother. I didn't care. I stood there still in my uniform and watched her pack. She deliberately took her time, made a huge mess, and accidentally knocked over a container of paint that splattered across my hardwood floor. The damage to my apartment is extensive. The leather couch is ruined. The paint won't come out. The hardwood floor needs professional refinishing. There are paint stains on the walls. The carpet in the bedroom, even the ceiling somehow. My kitchen has been turned into some kind of supply storage area with chemicals and solvents that probably violate my lease terms about hazardous materials. She's been using my bedroom closet to store her canvases, and there are paint fingerprints on everything. But the violation goes deeper than property damage. She went through my things. My desk drawers were rearranged. My personal documents were moved. She used my laptop. I found her social media logged in. She wore my clothes. She had people over. My neighbors confirmed seeing strangers coming and going. Mrs. Chen thought I'd given permission and didn't want to seem nosy by questioning it. I've changed my locks already. Paid the emergency locksmith fee at 8 a.m. But I'm sitting here in a hotel room because I can't stand to be in my violated space right now. I'm supposed to fly out again in 3 days for another international rotation, and I don't know how I'm supposed to focus on my job when my family has shown such complete disrespect for my life. The worst part, they genuinely don't think they did anything wrong. I've gotten 17 text messages from various family members telling me I'm overreacting, that I'm being selfish, that I should apologize to Emma for embarrassing her, that family is more important than stuff. This isn't about stuff. This is about respect. This is about boundaries. This is about the fact that my parents think so little of my career and my life that they literally gave away access to my home without even telling me. They think that because I'm a pilot, because I travel for work, I somehow don't deserve the same basic rights as anyone else. I'm considering pressing charges for breaking and entering. But everyone says I'm crazy for even thinking about it. Am I? Is it wrong to want my family to face consequences for literally breaking into my home and destroying my property? Or should I just accept that this is the price of having a successful career that requires travel? I need perspective here because right now, all I can see is red. Update 1 posted 3 days later. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Your comments gave me the courage to do what I should have done immediately. I've pressed charges, and yes, my sister was arrested. Let me explain what happened over the last 72 hours because it's been a whirlwind. After posting here and reading your responses, I realized I needed to document everything properly. I hired a professional photographer to capture every bit of damage. The invoice from that alone was $300, but it was worth it for the high-quality evidence. I also got 3 separate quotes from restoration companies for the repairs. The total just over $8,000. The leather couch alone is a $3,000 loss. The hardwood floor refinishing is $2,500. Professional paint removal and repainting is $1,800, and various other damages add up to the rest. I then went to the police station with all my evidence. The officer I spoke with initially tried to dismiss it as a family matter, but I insisted on filing a formal report. I showed them the videos I'd taken of Emma admitting she'd entered without permission, the photos of the damage, and the text messages from my parents admitting they'd made unauthorized copies of my keys. The officer's attitude changed when I mentioned the value of the damages exceeded $5,000, making it a potential felony. While I was at the station, I also contacted my landlord. Turns out having unauthorized tenants and storing hazardous chemicals violates my lease. My landlord was furious not at me but at the situation. He's been understanding since I've been a model tenant, but he documented everything for his own records and mentioned he might pursue his own legal action against Emma for the lease violations. The police went to Emma's actual apartment. She lives with 2 roommates in a cheaper part of the city yesterday morning. According to the officer who called me, she tried to claim she had permission to be in my apartment. When they informed her that I'd provided evidence to the contrary, she apparently broke down crying and called our parents. This is where it gets interesting. My parents drove to the police station and tried to explain that they'd given Emma permission to use their son's apartment. The officers had to explain to them that they cannot give permission to enter property they don't own or lease. My father actually said, "But we're his parents," as if that gave them some kind of universal authority over my adult life. Emma was formally arrested and charged with criminal trespassing and vandalism. She spent 6 hours in holding before my parents bailed her out. The bail was $5,000, which I'm told they had to scramble to put together. The explosion of family drama has been nuclear. My phone has been bombarded with calls and messages from aunts, uncles, cousins, and family friends. The narrative my parents are spinning is that I'm vindictive and cruel, that I've destroyed my sister's life over a little paint, and that I'm choosing material possessions over family. My Aunt Patricia, who's always been level-headed, called me last night. After hearing my side, she said something that stuck with me. "Your parents have always treated Emma's wants as needs and your needs as wants. This was bound to happen eventually." She's right. When I needed help paying for flight training, I was told to take out loans and figure it out myself. When Emma wanted a $2,000 art tablet, our parents bought it for her birthday. When I was working 100-hour weeks as a flight instructor, making $30,000 a year, living in a studio apartment with 3 roommates, my parents told me to stick with it and that success requires sacrifice. When Emma complained that her barista job was stifling her creativity, they let her quit and move back home. The double standard has always been there, but this situation has blown it wide open. I've also been in contact with my airline's legal team. Turns out they take threats to their pilots' mental health and home stability very seriously. They've connected me with their contracted law firm, who will be handling the civil case pro bono as part of my employment benefits. The lawyer Jennifer is a bulldog. She's already drafted cease and desist letters to my parents and Emma, and she's preparing a civil lawsuit for damages, emotional distress, and invasion of privacy. Here's the kicker. Jennifer discovered that my parents technically committed a crime too. Making unauthorized copies of keys with the intent to enable trespassing is considered conspiracy to commit breaking and entering in our state. While the DA probably won't pursue charges against them, it's leverage. My sister's arraignment is next week. The prosecutor's office contacted me and they're taking this seriously because of the amount of damage and the clear premeditation. My parents making keys months in advance shows planning. Emma's looking at potential jail time, though Jennifer thinks it'll probably be probation and restitution if she pleads guilty. The family pressure has been intense. My grandmother, who I've always been close to, called me crying, saying she never thought she'd see the day when family members press charges against each other. It broke my heart, but I explained everything to her. The violation, the dismissiveness, the fact that if I let this go, it would only escalate. She was quiet for a long time, then said, "Your grandfather would have done the same thing. Family doesn't mean letting people walk all over you." My work has been incredibly supportive. My chief pilot called me personally after hearing about the situation. News travels fast in the aviation world and assured me that they have my back. He even offered to adjust my schedule if I need time to deal with the legal proceedings. He said, "We need pilots who can maintain boundaries and handle pressure. You're showing us you can do both." But the stress is affecting me. I'm staying in a hotel while my apartment is being restored, living out of a suitcase in my own city. I'm scheduled to fly a route to London in 2 days, and I'm struggling to focus on my pre-flight preparations. I've never had my concentration compromised like this, and it scares me. Being a pilot means being responsible for hundreds of lives. I can't afford to be distracted. I've started seeing a therapist through my airline's employee assistance program. She's helped me understand that what I'm experiencing is a form of betrayal trauma. The people who were supposed to respect and protect me the most. My parents literally gave away the keys to my sanctuary. That's not a small thing. Emma, meanwhile, has been posting on social media about how she's being persecuted for being an artist and how her brother is choosing capitalism over family. She started a GoFundMe for her legal fees, claiming she's a victim of vindictive sibling jealousy. It's raised $76 so far, all from her artist friends who don't know the full story. My parents have gone from angry to desperate. They've offered to pay for the damages if I drop the charges. The problem is it's not about the money anymore. It's about the fact that they need to understand that actions have consequences. They can't just throw money at this and make it go away. They need to acknowledge that what they did was wrong, possibly criminal, and completely unacceptable. The message needs to be clear. My career, my space, and my life are just as valid and important as anyone else's in this family. Being a pilot doesn't make me less deserving of privacy and respect. If anything, the stress and responsibility of my job make my personal space even more crucial for my mental health and job performance. I'll update again after the arraignment. For now, I'm trying to focus on my upcoming flights and rebuilding my sense of security. I've installed a security camera system in my apartment with my landlord's permission, and I'm having a smart lock system installed that I can monitor remotely. I'll never be caught off guard like this again. To those saying I'm going too far, I respectfully disagree. Sometimes going far is the only way to stop people from trampling your boundaries. If that makes me the villain in my family story, so be it. At least I'll be a villain with an intact home and self-respect. Update 2, posted 2 weeks later. The arraignment happened, and the aftermath has been more intense than I anticipated. Emma pleaded not guilty against her lawyer's advice. The public defender assigned to her case apparently recommended she take a plea deal, probation, community service, and restitution, but she insisted on fighting the charges. Her argument that she had implied permission because our parents had given her the keys. The judge didn't buy it and set a trial date for next month. The real bombshell came when my lawyer Jennifer filed the civil lawsuit. We're suing Emma for $8,000 in damages plus emotional distress and invasion of privacy. But here's where it gets interesting. We're also suing my parents for $70,000. Why $70,000? Jennifer did some digging and found out this isn't the first time my parents have pulled something like this. They apparently gave Emma keys to my previous apartment 2 years ago when I was living across town. I never knew because she was smart enough not to trash the place, but my former neighbor confirmed seeing her there multiple times when I was traveling. Jennifer argues this establishes a pattern of behavior and conspiracy. The $70,000 includes damages to my current apartment, $800 security system installation and smart locks, $3,000 hotel costs during restoration, $20,000 therapy, and medical costs. I developed stress-induced insomnia, $20,000 legal fees. Even though the firm is covering most, there are still costs, $5,000 emotional distress and invasion of privacy, $25,000 punitive damages for conspiracy and pattern of behavior, $25,000. My parents received the lawsuit papers 3 days ago. My father showed up at my hotel that same evening, pounding on the door and screaming that I was destroying the family. Hotel security had to escort him out, and I now have a restraining order pending. My mother's reaction was different, but equally disturbing. She sent me a long email detailing every sacrifice they'd made for me growing up, every dollar they'd spent on my education, conveniently forgetting that I paid for my flight training myself, and ending with, "We never thought we'd raised such a vindictive, materialistic son who values money over blood." The email was useful, actually. Jennifer says it shows they still don't understand that what they did was wrong, which strengthens our case for punitive damages. The aviation community has been incredibly supportive. Word got around the aviation world is surprisingly small, and I've received messages from other pilots sharing their own stories of family members taking advantage of their travel schedules. One captain told me his ex-wife used to rent out his apartment on Airbnb while he was flying international routes. Another first officer's brother sold his car while he was on a month-long training program, figuring he wouldn't notice until it was too late to do anything about it. My chief pilot has been monitoring the situation not because he doubts my ability to fly, but to ensure I have the support I need. The airline takes these things seriously. They know that personal stress can affect performance, and they'd rather support a pilot through a crisis than have them try to hide it and potentially compromise safety. I've been flying my regular routes, and honestly, being in the cockpit is the only time I feel normal lately. Up there at 41,000 feet, none of this family drama can touch me. It's just me, my captain, the aircraft, and the responsibility of getting everyone safely to their destination. The procedures, the checklists, the radio calls, they're predictable, logical, and comforting in a way my family life has never been. But the situation has escalated in unexpected ways. Emma's freelance career is starting to suffer. Several of her clients have pulled out of contracts after Googling her name and finding the arrest record. One major client, a marketing firm that handles government contracts, terminated her contract immediately. They have a policy about criminal charges. She's lost approximately $15,000 in future work so far. She's blaming me for this, of course. She posted on LinkedIn, of all places, about how her vindictive brother is destroying her career over a family misunderstanding. The post backfired spectacularly. Several professionals in the comments pointed out that entering someone's home without permission isn't a misunderstanding, it's a crime. One commenter, who turned out to be a lawyer, wrote a detailed breakdown of why her actions constituted breaking and entering. The post was deleted within hours, but screenshots are circulating. My parents have started to crack under the financial pressure. $70,000 is apparently most of their savings. They've been calling relatives trying to borrow money for their legal defense. The irony isn't lost on me. They had no problem giving Emma unauthorized access to my $2,400 per month apartment, but now they're panicking about their own finances. The extended family is divided. Some relatives think I'm being too harsh, that family should forgive family. Others are appalled at what my parents and Emma did. My cousin Mark, who's a police officer, called me to say he would have arrested his own siblings in the same situation. Badge or no badge, he said, breaking and entering is breaking and entering. The most surprising support came from my grandfather, my mother's father, who's been quietly observing the situation. He called me yesterday and said, "Your parents always babied Emma and expected too much from you. I've watched it for years and said nothing, thinking it wasn't my place. I regret that now. You're doing the right thing, son." Sometimes you have to teach people that actions have consequences, especially if they're family. He also revealed something that shocked me. He's removing my parents from his will if they don't make this right. His estate is worth roughly $500,000, and he's disgusted by their behavior. "I worked too hard for my money to leave it to people who think they can just take what isn't theirs," he said. This revelation has sent my parents into a complete panic. They're now trying to negotiate through their lawyer, offering to pay for all damages, write a formal apology, and attend family therapy if I drop both the criminal and civil charges. Jennifer says this is a good sign. It means they know they're going to lose. But I'm not ready to let this go. Not yet. The criminal charges aren't mine to drop. That's up to the prosecutor. And the civil suit is about more than money. It's about establishing once and for all that I'm not the family doormat they've always treated me as. My apartment is almost fully restored. The hardwood floors have been refinished, the walls repainted, and I've replaced the ruined furniture. The smart lock system is incredible. I can see every time someone approaches my door via the camera, and I can lock or unlock it from anywhere in the world. The security system alerts me to any movement when I'm away. It's costing a fortune, but the peace of mind is worth every penny. I've also discovered something disturbing during the cleanup. Hidden in my closet, Emma had stored not just art supplies, but also some of my personal items she'd apparently been planning to take. My watch collection, nothing fancy, but meaningful to me. Some aviation memorabilia, and oddly, my pilot logbooks. Why she wanted those, I have no idea, but it adds another layer of violation to this whole situation. The trial is in 3 weeks. The prosecutor seems confident, especially with the video evidence and my parents' admission via text that they made the keys without my permission. Emma's defense strategy seems to be painting me as an absentee brother who implicitly allowed family to use his space. Good luck with that, when the evidence shows she literally admitted on camera that she knew I hadn't given permission. My airline has granted me a few days off around the trial dates. They've also fast-tracked me for a captain upgrade program, partly because of how professionally I've handled this situation while maintaining perfect performance reviews. "You've shown exceptional decision-making under pressure," my chief pilot said. "That's exactly what we want in our captains." It's bittersweet. I'm achieving my career dreams while watching my family implode. But maybe that's the point. I've been succeeding despite my family, not because of them, for years. This situation has just made it impossible to ignore anymore. Final update posted 3 months later. It's been 3 months since everything exploded, and I finally have closure to share with all of you who've been following this story. The trial was swift. Emma's lawyer tried to argue that she had implicit permission based on family custom and practice, but the prosecutor demolished that defense. The video evidence of her admitting she knew I hadn't given permission, combined with the evidence of premeditation, my parents making keys months in advance, sealed her fate. She was found guilty of criminal trespassing and vandalism. The sentence: 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and $8,000 in restitution to be paid over 24 months. No jail time, which honestly I'm fine with. I never wanted my sister in jail. I wanted accountability, but the real consequences have been far more severe than the legal ones. Emma's freelance career is essentially over. The background check issue has destroyed her reputation in the design community. She lost every major client, and the few who initially stood by her backed away when the full details came out during the trial. The marketing firm that dropped her is now suing her for breach of contract, as she couldn't complete projects due to her legal obligations. She's had to take a job at a print shop making $15 an hour just to start paying the restitution. The civil case against my parents was settled out of court. They agreed to pay $50,000, $30,000 immediately, and $20,000 over the next year. Their savings are gone. They had to take out a home equity loan to make the first payment, and my father had to postpone his retirement by at least 5 years. They also had to sign a formal admission of wrongdoing and agree to no contact unless I initiate it. The family fallout has been extensive. My grandfather followed through on his threat. He's rewritten his will, leaving everything to me and my cousins, cutting my parents out entirely. This has caused a massive rift between my mother and her father that will probably never heal. She blames me naturally, but my grandfather has been clear. You raised one child to be responsible and another to be entitled. Now you're facing the consequences of your choices. Several family members who initially criticized me have apologized after learning the full extent of what happened. My Aunt Patricia has become one of my strongest supporters, and she's been helping mediate between the different family factions. The family is essentially split into 3 camps: those who support me, those who support my parents and Emma, and those trying to stay neutral. The professional consequences for me have been surprisingly positive. 3 weeks ago, I was promoted to captain, the youngest in my airline's history to achieve this position. The promotion comes with a substantial salary increase. I'm now making $180,000 base plus international per diem. The chief pilot specifically mentioned my exceptional handling of personal crisis while maintaining professional excellence in the promotion announcement. My apartment has become my sanctuary again, though it took time. The security system helps, but more than that, I've reclaimed the space psychologically. I've redecorated, making it truly mine in a way it wasn't before. Every piece of furniture, every item on the walls, was chosen deliberately to create a space that feels safe and personal. I've also been in therapy, consistently working through not just this incident, but years of family dynamics that led to it. My therapist has helped me understand that the apartment invasion was just the latest and most egregious example of a pattern where my boundaries were consistently ignored and my achievements minimized. Learning to set and maintain boundaries has been transformative. Emma and I haven't spoken since the trial. She sent one letter through her lawyer, not apologizing, but asking if we could move past this. I didn't respond. I've heard through family that she's bitter, claiming I've ruined her life over nothing. The fact that she still doesn't understand the violation shows me I made the right choice. My parents have attempted contact twice, both times through email, both times violating the spirit, if not the letter, of our agreement. The first was on my birthday, a lengthy message about how they still love me despite everything. The second was last week, asking if I'd consider coming to Christmas. I didn't respond to either. The interesting thing is, I'm not angry anymore. I'm sad about losing the family I thought I had, but I'm realizing I actually lost them, or maybe never had them, long before this incident. What I've gained is self-respect, professional success, and a chosen family of friends and colleagues who actually respect me and my boundaries. My fellow pilots have been incredible. There's an unofficial support network among us for dealing with family members who don't respect our careers or lifestyle. We call ourselves the frequent flyer orphans, and we do holidays together when we're not flying. Last Thanksgiving, instead of dealing with family drama, I had dinner with 7 other pilots in various stages of family estrangement. It was the most peaceful holiday I've ever had. The financial aspect has been resolved better than expected. The settlement money has gone toward paying off the last of my student loans and creating a security fund. I've also set aside money for additional security measures. I'm considering moving to a building with a doorman and better security. The peace of mind is worth the extra cost. One unexpected positive. This situation has made me a better pilot. Learning to stand firm under pressure to make difficult decisions despite emotional turmoil and to prioritize safety and protocol over personal relationships has translated directly into my cockpit performance. My recent simulator evaluation was the highest I've ever scored, and my crew resource management ratings are exceptional. I've also become something of a resource for other pilots dealing with similar situations. The airline's HR department has asked me to speak at our next pilot wellness seminar about maintaining boundaries and dealing with family pressure. It's strange to think that this horrible situation might help others avoid similar problems. Looking back, the $70,000 lawsuit wasn't about the money. It was about setting a price on respect. My parents thought they could violate my boundaries without consequence because they've been doing it my whole life in smaller ways. The lawsuit was my way of saying, this is what your disrespect costs. Some people still think I went too far. They think family should forgive everything that blood is thicker than water. But I've learned that the full saying is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The relationships we choose, the boundaries we maintain, the respect we demand. These things matter more than shared DNA. To anyone facing similar situations, here's what I've learned. Document everything. The videos and photos I took saved my case. Don't let family guilt you into accepting unacceptable behavior. Get legal help immediately. My airline's legal resources were invaluable. Therapy isn't weakness. It's maintenance for your mental health. Sometimes losing toxic family members is actually winning. Your career and personal space are valid and valuable regardless of what others think. Setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary. I'm flying to Tokyo again next week. This time, I'll engage my security system, lock my smart locks, and know that my apartment will be exactly as I left it when I return. My family might be smaller now, but it's also healthier. I've lost relatives but gained self-respect. My parents lost $50,000, their reputation, their son, and potentially a $500,000 inheritance. Emma lost her career, her reputation, and her brother. I lost a toxic family dynamic that was holding me back. I'd say I came out ahead. To those who've been following this story and offering support, thank you. Your messages, especially from fellow pilots and others who've dealt with similar family boundary violations, have meant more than you know. We deserve respect, we deserve privacy, and we deserve families who honor both. I'm the captain now flying international routes for one of the world's major airlines. I worked for this position. I earned it despite my family's lack of support, and I protected it when they tried to sabotage it. That's not vindictive. That's self-respect. Blue skies and tailwinds to all of you. Thanks for following my story. Edit. Since many have asked, yes, I'm doing well. Better than well, actually. I just got assigned to the new London-Sydney ultra-long haul route, which is a prestige assignment usually reserved for senior captains. Life has a way of rewarding you when you stand up for yourself. My apartment is my sanctuary. My career is soaring, and my chosen family respects my boundaries. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought you needed to gain everything you actually deserve.